Hello everyone, I'm Inchuga and welcome to Orange Studios. In today's tutorial, we're going to learn about Photoshop's interface. We are simply going to take a tour through the interface. Let's jump in. So now, in Photoshop, we can basically divide the screen or the interface into 4 sections. Up here we have what we call the menu bar. Over here on the left hand side, we have what we call the toolbar, and here we have the panel bar. In the middle here, we have what we call the image space or the canvas space. Now, if you look at the top of the screen, you can see the menu bar, which contains all the functions of Photoshop, such as File, Edit, Image, Layer, Select, Filter, View, Window, and Help. The toolbar has tools that can easily be categorized in 3 different groupings. There's the selection tools, there are the alteration tools, and there are the drawing and selection tools. In the panel bar, the panel contains functions that help you monitor and modify images or artworks. By default, the panel are stacked together in groups. These are the palettes that are usually visible. You can have the navigator, the color, the histogram, layer, and so on and so forth, all in this section. Now, let's take a look at some of the tools that are found in Photoshop and what they are basically used for. Let's start with the selection tools. With the selection tools, you have first and foremost the move tool. Now, the move tool is used to select and move objects on the page. In Photoshop, every tool that has this small eyelet in the bottom right hand side of the tool indicates that once you click and hold, it gives you a drop down of the other options. The next tool we can look at is what we call the marquee tool. The marquee tool is a tool that helps you select an object by drawing a rectangle or an ellipse around it. What you do is to click the tool button, choose a rectangle or an elliptical marquee tool, drag the marquee over the area of the image you want to select. Now, to use the marquee tool, click on the marquee tool, click on the eyelet to choose between the rectangle or the elliptical tool. Let's go with the rectangle tool. You can click from the area of the object you are working on and just drag, like you can see me do. Click and hold and drag. Now, with this selection made, I can do several things with this selection. We have selected around the object. We can choose to delete this part of the selection or alterate the color in this segment. Let me show you how it's done. Now you can see that it's only the section of selection that is being affected by the changes I am applying. We can also use the elliptical marquee tool. Now, same like the rectangular marquee tool, we can click and then drag. And this gives us the chance to draw around the object and make a selection of our choice, just like I'm doing. With this selection done, we can delete just the face, or we can change the selection area and delete everything else but the face. Let's move on. The next tool we are going to look at is the Lasso tool. Just like the move tool and the marquee tool, The Lasso tool also has a drop down option. Let's click on it and see. So in the Lasso tool, we have the Lasso tool, we have the polygonal Lasso tool, and the magnetic Lasso tool. Let's see how they work in a quick session. Now we are using the Lasso tool. The Lasso tool, just like the Marquee tool, is a selection tool. What the Lasso tool offers you is a freehand drawing or freehand selection around the image. So we can freehandedly make a selection around the image. And there we go. So with this, we can as well delete just this part of the image, or we can inverse the selection by going to selecting inverse, and then delete every other thing but the selection. Let's go back. The polygonal Lasso tool selects object by drawing a straight edge border around it. This is how it works. So once you click an area, you realize that when I freely drag around, it follows in a straight line. So what you do is you can click, 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 click. And there you go, you've made your selection. So just like the Lasso tool, the Marquee tool, we can delete just the area of selection, or click on select the inverse option, and then you can delete every other thing else but the image you've selected around. Let's go back. The other option under the Lasso tool is the magnetic Lasso tool. The magnetic Lasso tool selects an object by drawing a border that snaps to the edges of the defined area of the object. So now let's try it and see. First of all, click a point and just move your mouse. What you realize is that the magnetic tool by default selects points of the image that is well defined for it to recognize, and by just moving the mouse around, it does the selection for you. So in places where the selection is very defined, if you carefully move the mouse, you realize that it just follows your selection. So with this done, again, we can delete just the image, or go to select inverse, and you delete every other thing but the area of selection. Let's go back. Now the next tool we are going to look at is the object selection tool, which has options like the quick selection tool and the magic wand. Let's see how they work. Select the object selection tool. Click on an area away from the main subject of selection and close it just around it. Draw the selection just around the object and then release the clicking. Now Photoshop, by its intelligence, will select the image according to how well defined the edges are. And you realize that in this case, we didn't select like we would have done with the Lasso tool or the polygonal Lasso tool. We just drew a selection around the image, and the object selection tool selected the areas that are well defined to be identified. In the same way like we did with the Lasso tool and the polygonal Lasso tool, we can delete just the image or the area of selection, or we can click on select, inverse, and delete every other thing else but the area of selection. The other tool we can look at is the quick selection tool. Now, the quick selection tool offers you the chance to just click in an area without releasing the click, drag, and by its own accord, it will make the selection for you. Again, now just like the polygonal lasso tool or the market tool, after the selection is done, we can either delete the area of selection or undo and then go to select, click on inverse, and then delete the other part of the selection. Let's go back to the magic wand. Once the magic wand is selected, all you have to do is to click once and it will select all the areas in the image that has the same color scheme or color fill. Just like the previously selected tool in the selection tool, you have the option to delete the area of selection or undo, go to select, select inverse, and then it will inverse the area of selection where you can delete or apply any alteration of your choice. Now, another tool we can look at is the cropping tool. With the cropping tool, there's the crop tool, there's the perspective crop tool, there's a slice, and a slice select tool. Now, for today's purpose, we are just going to look at the crop tool. The crop tool, once it's selected, gives you this bordered edges around the canvas or image area. Once you click and drag, the area of highlight is the area that will be left to work with once you click on OK. Now, let's take a look at some of the alteration tools. The spot healing brush also has options below it. So we have the spot healing brush, the healing brush, the patch brush, the content aware move tool, and the red eye tool. The healing brush corrects small blemishes in a scanned photo. Let's try it. So once the spot healing brush is selected, take a look at the face. You realize that there's a black spot in this area of the face. How do we get it off if the client doesn't want it? Just come over, select the spot healing brush, bring your cursor or the circle around the object and click once. Photoshop by itself will correct the blemish for you. That's what the healing brush does. It heals all blemishes when you apply them. The next tool we are going to look at is the brush tool. Select the brush tool. The brush tool draws lines of different thickness and colors. Let's see how it works. So with the brush tool selected, look up in the menu bar. You realize that just below the menu bar, there are options here. You have the opacity of the brush, the flow of the brush. Over here, you have the size and hardness of the brush. So once you click on this button, it gives you a drop-down menu where you can adjust the size of the brush and the hardness of the brush. Let's use it. Now, with the brush tool selected, we can choose to make drawings on the object as we please. If that is what you want. The brush tool is basically used to draw lines of different thickness and colors. So to change color, you come to the color palette here, select, double click, and select any color of your choice. And the color has changed, so we can apply a different color to the image. Let's move to the clone tool. You can click on Ctrl Z, click and hold Ctrl, and click on Z to undo. The clone tool. Now, the clone tool helps you clone an area in an image or drawing and then replicate it on another area. Let's look at how it works. Select the clone tool. Increase the brush size as you desire. Now, let's try to clone this area of the image. Press and hold on Alt. Press and hold on Alt and click to select that area. Once we go to other parts of the face to click, the area of selection is repeated over there. So with one click, you have duplicated the nose above the original nose. We can do same here, and then we have two noses on the face. So basically, the clone tool clones an area of the face or of the image, and you can replicate it somewhere else. We can choose to have as many noses as possible on the image, or as many eyes as possible as we want on the image, or by increasing or decreasing the size of the brush depending on the area you want to clone, and clicking somewhere else to clone it. So again, hit on enter to activate the tool, press and hold on Alt, and then click on the area you want to select once, and then the tool is activated. So once again, we can just click above the eye, the original eye, and we have the eye replicated. Again, click above the eye, and we have the eye replicated again. Now, there are other tools that are used to assist with the work. For instance, the zoom tool, by its name, helps you to zoom in and out of the image. So to zoom in, click on the plus sign, click, and it zooms in. To zoom out, click on the minus sign, click on an area, and it zooms out. You can also select either the zoom in or zoom out, click and hold, drag, and it zooms in. To zoom out, you can click on the zoom out tool, click and hold, drag, and it zooms out. Now, let's zoom in and try something with the hand tool. To move the image around on the canvas space, you can select on the hand tool, and what it does for you is to help you click, hold, and drag, and you can move the whole canvas around. That is, when you have zoomed in and the image has filled the entire working area, you can click and hold and drag your image around. A shortcut to zooming in and zooming out is to click and hold on Control and press on either plus or minus on your keyboard to zoom in or zoom out. So to zoom out, click or press and hold on the Control button and press the minus key on your keyboard, or press the plus key on your keyboard to zoom in. There is also the drawing and selection tools. Now, today let's just touch on the pen tool. The pen tool also gives you options. By clicking on the eyelet in the bottom right corner of the tool, you have options. Let's select the pen tool. With the pen tool selected, we can draw straight edge shapes like this and close it here, or we can as well draw smooth edged shapes like so. We will learn how to use the pen tool in details in other episodes. Now, there's also the type tool. The type tool types text on a page. Every time you click the type tool on a new portion of the page, a new layer will be created where you can type in any text of your choice. Let's try it. So click on the text tool click on any area, and just like that, you realize that there's a new layer created here. So let's see. And click. Every time you do a text or type, you either activate the type by clicking on this sign, or discard it by clicking on this sign. So let's activate it. Now that is the layer of the text, and with that we can move the text around by selecting the move tool and then click and move the text around. Now, to change the text color, size or font, you come over here to the palette or the panel where we can find the type layer. Now, with the type selected, we can scroll down here, select the color, and then we can change the color of the type to any color of our choice. We can also change the size of the text by coming here and selecting any size here, and then there you go, the size of the text changes. We can also type in any size of our choice, say 150, and there you go, the size of the text changes. Now we can also adjust the cap case. You can do this by scrolling down. You have type options. Click on this to change and make it all uppercase. Now let's move on to the layer panel. This is the layer panel. Photoshop arranges works in layers. So the layer that is on top appears above all other layers. Let's try this. Let's change the color of the triangle to, let's say, to change that, come over here where there's a thumbnail in this layer, or in this layer of the shape. Now double click in this thumbnail. It gives you the option to change the color. Let's make it green. Now, since the green is below the red shape here, when we click on the triangle and we drag it, you realize that it goes below the red shape. This tells you that this layer is above that layer. Now, because the triangle is also, the layer of the triangle can be found above the main image or the picture here, when we select or click over the triangle and move, you realize that it appears above the image. Photoshop arranges objects in layers, and the layers are so important in Photoshop. It tells you which object is placed where, what object it is, and how you can have access to it or manipulate certain functions of the object. Okay, now that's basically it with the interface of Photoshop. I hope you understood some things, and I hope Photoshop's interface is no longer as scary as it looks. Now, in today's assignment, you are supposed to try your hands on shapes, drawing shapes with a pen tool and drawing shapes with a shape tool. Let's try by opening a document. This is how you open a document in Photoshop. Go to File, click on File. You have the option for New. The shortcut to opening a new document is Ctrl+N. That is, press and hold on Ctrl and then click on N to open a new document. You can as well come to File, select New, and this menu pops up. You can choose the canvas size of your choice. Photoshop gives you options or templates made available for you. So if you want to work with A4, you go to Print. You realize that there's the A4 option, which is already there in 300 pixels per inch. There's also the tabloid, the A3, A5, A6. Now let's create a new tab by selecting the A4. With the A4 selected, we can either choose to have it in the portrait orientation or the landscape orientation. Let's go with the landscape. Resolutions. What's resolutions? Resolution basically talks about the image quality or the image size. After your work is done, the resolution determines how big your image size becomes or how small it is. The bigger the image size, the sharper the image. The smaller the image size or the resolution, the lower the image quality. Let's keep it at 300. Now there's also the color mode. Down here you have options like the bitmap, grayscale, RGB, CMYK, and lab. Let's look at two of this. RGB is used when you are designing for screen purposes, say for your phones, for your website, for your laptops, for social media, etc. RGB is simply red, green, blue color mode. Now CMYK is used when you want to design a print material. So if you are designing to print out, the best color mode to use is CMYK. That is cyan for C, magenta for M, Y for yellow, and K for black. Let's go with RGB in this study. Now leave the rest as they are. Just click on create. There you go, we have a new document opened for us. So this is the old document which can be accessed by clicking on this tab, and the new document it's here and can be accessed by clicking on this tab. Bear in mind, to create a new document, you either click and hold on Control, you either press and hold on Control and then press N to start a new document, or let's close it, go to File, click on File, click on New, and you have this pop-up message where you can have options. We'll later talk about choosing image size or canvas size or material size to work with. Now, one other thing I didn't mention is that you can actually name your document right from this pop-up menu. The first thing you realize is preset details. In the preset details, that's where you have the size of the canvas. So we can choose to make the canvas width 500 millimeters and the height 250 millimeters. Any size of your choice is good to go. And remember, the higher the resolution, the higher the image quality. The lower the resolution, the lower the image quality. We use RGB when we are working for screen purposes, as in when the design is going to be seen only on screens. We use CMYK when we are going to print out the design. Let's stick to RGB in this case again. So let's name this try. Again, let's keep the rest as they are. They will be explained later. Click on create and you realize that this tab here is named try. This one is named untitled because we didn't title it. This one is also named untitled 1 because we didn't title it. So once you don't title it, Photoshop keeps naming them untitled and keeps increasing the number. So untitled 1, untitled 2, untitled 3. Now let's jump into the assignment. This is what we are going to do. We are going to try to create shapes using the pen tool and the shape tool. Let's start off with the shape tool. The shape tool again has an eyelet on the bottom right corner of it. Click and hold on the eyelet. Select whichever option you have here. There's the rectangle tool, rounded rectangle tool, ellipse tool, polygonal tool, line tool, and custom shapes. You are going to try each and every one of these. Let's try first with the rectangle tool. Now, click on an area of your canvas or your workspace that you want to draw the shape. Click and hold and drag and you have your shape. Once you release it, the shape will be created. Now, you are seeing this because the shape has a color of white and it's on a white background, so it can be seen. How do we change this? Remember, to change this, you move to the thumbnail here You see this small box in this layer. Now double click on this layer thumbnail and the color picker pops out. Select any color of your choice and there it is made effect with the shape. Let's go with red for now. Let's try another option in the shape tool. Now this time let's go for rounded rectangle. The rounded rectangle draws the rectangle or square shapes but has rounded corners. Now the radius of the rounded corners is determined here. The higher the radius, the more rounded it is. The smaller the radius, the more it becomes square, or the more unround it is. Let's increase the radius and see. So you see, we are drawing a rectangle, but it gives it a round edge rectangle. Leave it, and again we have a red tool. To change this color, again move to the layer panel, go for this square in this layer corner, and then double click in the layer thumbnail. Let's make this yellow. So wherever you click in the color picker, it selects the color. This gives you the color varieties, and this area helps you select the color shades. Now let's try to get a brighter yellow. Let's select somewhere here in the color picker. So we have our yellow. Click on OK and your shape is drawn with the color of your choice. To move this up, select or the move tool, click on the layer and move or drag to wherever you want. Let's try another option in the shape tool. Remember, the shortcut for the shape tool is U. We have the ellipse tool, which helps you draw elliptical shapes. Now select it. Let's draw a shape. Once you click on an edge and drag, it draws the shape. To give it a more restricted shape drawing or a more guided shape drawing, press on Shift and drag, and the shape becomes circle, but no matter how you move your hand, the circle is not distorted. It still keeps it perfect. So you realize that the width is 729 and the height is 729. Just around the green selection here, you can find that the width is always equal to the height with your hand on the shift. Let's let go of the shift and see. Now you realize that once I move my hand, the ellipse shape follows the area of my movement. Let's just leave it like that. Once again, to change this color, you can again come down here, which is the ellipse that is drawn. You realize that the first is rectangle, the second we did was a rounded rectangle, the third is an ellipse. Let's try and change this color. Let's make it green. Again, double click the layer thumbnail, select as any in this area, select or move this wheel up and down to select the color scheme you want to use. Come to the color picker area and select any gradient of green or any shade of green you want. Let's go with this. There you go, shape is drawn. To move this around again, select the move tool, click and hold and drag it around. Now let's go to the other option in the shape tool. There's also the polygonal tool. The polygonal tool helps you draw polygons. Now polygons are objects or shapes with multiple sides. say pentagon, octagon, hexagon, as many sides of the shape you want, you can adjust by looking up here. Again, just below the menu bar, there's the option to manipulate or adjust your polygonal tool. Come over here to the sides. Now it's set at 5. So if I should draw right now, I'll have a polygon with 5 sides. How do I do it? Click and hold and drag. With that done, again, you can just select the move tool and then move it around. You can also press the Ctrl plus T. That is, press and hold Ctrl and press on T to give you this selection option. Now, to reduce the size of this shape, just go to any of the corners. Click and hold and drag down to reduce the shape or increase the size of the shape. This is okay. Let's drop it here. Let's try. Click on this to activate the transformation you have selected, that is commit transformation or cancel transformation. Let's commit transformation. Let's see if we can draw 8-sided polygon. Once again, click on the polygonal tool or on the shape tool, move over to polygon tool. Let's come here and put 8 there instead of 5. So highlight it and press on 8. Press enter to activate. Let's click, hold and drag. So you realize that, let's select on the move tool and drag it here. So you realize that here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 sides. That was because with the polygonal tool we selected 8 sides. Okay, so that is it with the shape tool. Let's try the pen tool. Now select the pen tool. The pen tool helps you draw shapes either with curved edges or with straight line edges. Let's try. So click on any area, move away from your area of clicking, click another area, you realize there's a line drawn, click another area and click another area. Let's end here. So in today's assignment, this is what you're supposed to do. Draw shapes using the shape tool and the pen tool and try to give them different colors. You can submit your assignments to the email in the description below. Now, don't forget to subscribe, like and share this content with other people who want to learn the basics or advanced tutorials. Thank you once again. We hope you enjoyed the video and see you another time.